Antebellum is a new film that was recently released on VOD, I think a week or two ago. It's a film that stars Janelle Monae, Gina Malone, Gabri Sidibe. Scheduled to come out in theaters, but it didn't come out in theaters. Instead, it came out on VOD because of COVID, and so now here we're getting it. And I don't want to give away the story for this movie. I kind of want to leave things vague because a large portion of this movie is resting on the mystery of it. So I'm going to try to be vague with that. Here's the basic synopsis for the movie. There is a successful author and social activist played by Janelle Monae who is caught up in a horrible reality and has to find a way to reconcile with her past, present, and future in order to escape. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the Cliff Notes version of the synopsis on IMDb or any other place that described the story for this movie. For one thing, it is a beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous looking movie. Excellent shot composition, excellent lighting, excellent use of coloring, very vibrant and gorgeous and lush looking film. Excellent framing. There are so many different shots that I see pop up in this movie where I'm like, yes, that, all of that, and put it on my wall and hang it up. Like that's a painting right there. I'm actually really close to calling this movie eggs on its head. I'm not gonna go quite that far, but if you want eggs, this movie's got you.
Yep.
I thought about showing some side boob or some cat ditting titty, but nah, I'm gonna save that for another movie. I don't think this movie quite deserves that level of praise. Musical score is also a standout for me. I cannot remember the name of the composer. I'm tired of this happening to me. I know their names before the video and then I don't know. I just go into another space and I forget it as soon as the video starts. Whoever the composer is, you did an excellent job with the score. I would describe it as beautiful, haunting, soulful, at times very powerful, excellent use of violins. Like Janelle Monae, I love Janelle Monae. I'm a big fan of her, not just musically, but in a lot of the other stuff that she's done. I think she's a very talented woman. She does pretty good work in here for what she's given to work with. All the other performers in the movie do a capable job. I would actually say Gabri Sidibe is actually, I feel like I'm butchering her name, my bad, but I feel like she actually was one of the standout characters of this entire film. She gave this film some life, some juice, some energy. She was funny and charismatic. She's not really in the movie that much, but I thought she did a good job. And also Kiersey Clemons, AKA Iris West in the upcoming Flash movie. She did a very good job in this movie too. Again, not in the movie that much, but she was solid. If I had to sum up my feelings on this movie after watching it, I would say that Five-Head Tyra Banks probably can sum it up a lot better than I can.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this.
Without a doubt, this is one of the most disappointing films that I have seen in 2020. And considering that 2020 itself is one of the most disappointing years that I've ever had, that is saying quite a lot. There are two things that sink this movie. One is the pacing. This is a horribly paced movie with a lot of long, drawn out shots that make the film feel a lot longer than it needs to be. Like when you watch the movie in totality, you definitely feel like they could have gotten to the point of things a lot quicker than they actually got to them. The other thing that completely tanks this movie, and I do mean completely tanks it, is the script. When I say tank, it doesn't just like ruin this movie. It fist fucks it to the bottom of the equator. I'm not even sure the Titanic sank as epically as this movie did when the script finally gets to its big reveal. The script is bad for a multitude of reasons. For one thing, I do think that the entire narrative of this film is resting on one twist, one big reveal that is not revealed until about an hour or so into the movie. Everything about this movie is resting on this twist, and for you to be on board with this twist. There's really nothing else interesting or compelling about the movie, as it turns out, other than this twist. So if this twist doesn't work for you, like I said, the entire movie tanks. There is an extreme lack of character development in this movie that is kind of alarming. Like you look at all the other characters that populate this movie, none of them feel like they're really allowed to be people. They're all just kind of caricatures or exaggerated tropes of what we would expect them to be. The dialogue is very on the nose, very in your face, none of it very subtle. It just kind of holds your hand through some of the more complex ideas of the movie, which as it turns out are not really all that complex. I would say my biggest issue with the script is that this movie forces you to sit through a lot of torture porn and slavery and rape and all the terrible stuff that we associate with the history of Black America. I say if you're gonna make us sit through all of that, there has to be a point, there has to be a payoff, and at the end of the day, this script just does not give you the payoff. It doesn't give you that sense of enlightenment or that sense of triumph or that sense of, hey, this is how we can be better, or this is what's going on in today's world. This movie doesn't really do any of that. It feels like Black exploitation and Black torture porn for the sake of entertainment rather than for the sake of a message that you feel like is there, but again, is just horribly executed. I feel like a big idea with this film is the idea that white supremacy and racism is still prevalent and still loud today as it was back in the day. Like, I feel like that's a big part of the story in this movie. I would just say that the script misses a real opportunity to really flesh this out and combine it with some of the traumas and the way that racism has evolved and changed and adapted in the present day. But instead, a lot of the struggles of Black America are just kind of thrown by the wayside in this movie. It's not delved into with any kind of intelligence or nuance, and it instead just makes the entire thing feel exploitative. And you combine that with the slow pacing and the lack of character development, and at the end of the movie, I was just sitting there like, what the hell did I sit through this thing for? Not to mention, it messes with the logical reality of the film, because once the reveal happens that the entire movie is resting on, it just makes you step back and go, wait a minute, does the movie make as much sense as it did before? Because all of a sudden, I have questions. Antebellum was one of the most disappointing movies of 2020. It got worse the more I thought about it, and it feels like a big chunk of kryptonite sitting in Superman's lap. I would not recommend that you check out Antebellum, but just in case you have, tell me what you thought about the movie. Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.